Had this dude walk in at 3 a.m. with a live pigeon stuck in his jacket. Not injured, not dying, just casually asking if we could extract it without hurting the bird. Spent 2 hours trying to coax it out while he kept saying the bird was his emotional support animal. Turns out he stole it from a park because he was lonely. We called animal control, but the patient started crying and wouldn't let go. Literally never seen someone put an entire frozen pizza in their mouth at once until Mrs. Johnson came in choking. She said she wanted to feel what it was like to be a snake and swallow something whole. Heimlich saved her, but she kept insisting she wasn't done with her experiment. Her husband looked absolutely mortified. My absolute favorite was the guy who came in, convinced his organs were playing poker without his permission. He could describe which organs were winning, detailed hand by hand. Took us forever to realize he'd been huffing paint thinner in his garage for days. The commit paperwork was intense. Watched a woman convince herself that her left arm belonged to someone else and kept trying to divorce it from her body. She was fighting with it, yelling at it, blaming it for eating her snacks. When we finally got her sedated and examined, turned out to be severe sleep deprivation mixed with a stress disorder. Still sends us Christmas cards. Never gonna forget the construction worker who superglued his fingers together on purpose because he wanted to see how long he could work that way. Superglued them. He showed up acting all proud like he'd invented something genius. Took acetone and about an hour of patience to separate them while he complained that we were ruining his experiment. Dude straight up arrived with 12 stuffed animals because he claimed they each had different medical conditions, and he was bringing them for a family diagnosis. Spent the appointment explaining how his teddy had diabetes and his rabbit had anxiety. Patient had more empathy for toys than humans. Psychological eval needed. Girl came in swearing that fast food made her speak in a British accent. Every meal from McDonald's equals instant posh accent. Worst part, she was actually doing the accent and insisted it was involuntary. No medical condition, just full commitment to this bizarre belief. We just let her ramble. This absolute legend showed up because he thought he was allergic to his own sweat. Covered himself in plastic wrap thinking it would help. Came in dehydrated and overheating, still insisting the wrap was his only protection. The mental gymnastics required to wrap yourself completely and think that's medicine-level stuff. Walking encyclopedia of WebMD, this patient diagnosed herself with 17 different conditions in the waiting room. By the time we saw her, she'd added 3 more. Every symptom pointed to something terminal in her mind. Anxiety through the roof, literally nothing physically wrong. Sent her to psych with a stack of printed articles she'd written herself. Bloke came in asking us to remove his taste buds surgically because his mum's cooking gave him PTSD. Literally wanted surgery to not taste her food. Took 40 minutes to explain that taste bud removal isn't a real procedure and his mom wasn't poisoning him intentionally. He left angry, probably still getting force-fed casserole. Honestly, the weirdest was a patient who insisted her gallbladder was judging her life choices. Not just causing pain, actively judging. Every decision she made, she felt the organ's disappointment. Full delusion scenario, but she was totally convinced and calm about it. Psychiatry said it was fascinating actually. This mad lad tried to cure his own broken arm with essential oils and positive affirmations. Waited 3 weeks before coming in because he was certain he was spiritually mending it. Arm was shattered in multiple places. X-rays didn't lie. He got a cast but still seemed suspicious about modern medicine's credibility. Woman swore that one of her knees was possessed by her ex-boyfriend. Specifically that knee. Not her other leg, just one knee. She'd have full conversations with it, blaming it for her relationship failures. The level of specificity in her delusion was honestly impressive. Neurology found nothing wrong. Patient arrived covered head to toe in mustard, claiming it was medicinal and cured melanoma. He'd been applying mustard to a suspicious mole for 2 weeks solid. The smell was absolutely rank, and yes, infection had set in obviously. Cleaned him up, removed the mole surgically, explained that condiments aren't treatment options. This person genuinely believed that laughing killed brain cells and avoided smiling for an entire year before coming in. Completely serious about it. Seemed depressed obviously, but kept reiterating that happiness was literally toxic to her cognitive function. Took actual studies to convince her that laughter isn't deadly. Took a while though. Absolute unit of a guy came in saying his left eye was a camera surveillance device planted by government, and he needed it removed immediately. Totally lucid about everything else. Super normal dude, but absolutely certain about the camera eye. The specificity of his delusion was insane. Spent hours trying to logically convince him otherwise. This woman treated her diabetes like a competitive sport. Didn't want to manage it, wanted to beat it in combat. Kept challenging her blood sugar levels, refusing insulin because it was cheating. Came in with diabetic ketoacidosis thinking she was winning some battle. Hard to manage patients who have that kind of mindset. Guy walked in with a rope around his ankle connected to his girlfriend in the waiting room because they didn't trust themselves to be separated anymore. They wanted surgery to fuse their bones together permanently. Took 3 different psychiatrists and social workers to separate them, figuratively speaking. Codependency at its absolute worst. Patient insisted that milk cows were communicating with her through telepathy, and they specifically told her she had cancer. No cancer, by the way, just very convinced by psychic dairy cows. She'd spend hours on her farm listening to the cows' voices. The conviction in her eyes was terrifying. Mental health is complicated. Brought in his entire coin collection because he thought swallowing one specific coin would unlock hidden health benefits. Actually swallowed it too. Had to go through his coins like a treasure hunt before x-raying. Found it in his stomach, completely convinced his health would be restored. It wasn't. This queen came in after trying to barter with her appendix pain using interpretive dance. She genuinely believed that if she danced well enough, her organs would negotiate and stop hurting. Appendicitis doesn't work that way. Post-surgery, she seemed shocked that the appendix wasn't just being difficult for attention. Patient arrived insisting that he'd turned into a werewolf partially, and only specific hours were dangerous. Wanted us to schedule his surgery around full moons. Completely delusional, seemed almost reasonable otherwise. Fascinating case of compartmentalized psychosis. Medication helped a lot actually. This dude's wife brought him in saying he'd swallowed his own wedding ring on purpose as some kind of weird romantic gesture. Apparently wanted it to be part of him forever. Ring was definitely in his stomach on imaging. He seemed genuinely happy about it. Couple seemed functional otherwise, just odd choices. Woman treated her anxiety like it was a person living in her chest that she could negotiate with. Would have meetings with it, make deals, offer it compromises. Came in because she offered it too much caffeine as a bribe, and now she was severely jittery. Logic of bargaining with anxiety is limited apparently. This legend thought his hiccups were a sign that aliens were trying to communicate with him. Every hiccup was a message, and he was desperately trying to decode it. Came in after 3 days of persistent hiccups convinced he discovered universal truth. Ultimately just nerve irritation, no extraterrestrials involved. absolute character of a patient who insisted his belly button was a doorway and felt compelled to keep opening and closing it repeatedly. Skin was raw and infected from the constant picking. Completely fixated, couldn't stop himself. OCD mixed with body-focused repetitive behavior made for complicated treatment plan. Guy genuinely believed that paper cuts were miniature portals and got worried that demons could access his body through them. Would come in with tiny cuts, completely freaked out about demonic infiltration. Anxiety through the roof over millimeter wounds. Therapy helped him realize portals don't exist in dermatology. This woman's delusion was that she could taste colors and colors had different nutritional values. Claimed yellow was sweet, blue was bitter, and red was spicy. Came in malnourished because she was only eating colors she considered healthy. Needed nutritional counseling and psych support immediately. Patient arrived with a list of foods he'd alphabetized and would only eat if they appeared in correct order daily. Breakfast had to start with a foods, lunch with L foods, and so on. Nutritionist had field day with this one. No actual medical condition, pure obsessive-compulsive patterning behavior. Seriously, can't make this up. Lady came in because she thought her reflection was plotting against her. Not just mirror anxiety, full conviction that her reflection was leading a separate life and sabotaging her decisions. Kept covering every reflective surface in her house with tape. Paranoia mixed with some seriously wild delusions about alternate selves. Encountered this patient who swore that gravity was selectively attacking him more than other people, and that his bones were heavier than everyone else's. Actually measured himself multiple times daily against other humans standing next to him. Came in exhausted because he was fighting gravity harder than normal people. Body dysmorphia meets physics denial in the weirdest way possible. Bloke showed up wanting us to surgically install a second esophagus because he wanted to eat 2 different meals simultaneously without mixing them. Like side-by-side food tubes. Complete impossibility, but he had diagrams and everything. Spent an hour explaining human anatomy while he grew increasingly frustrated that medicine wasn't advanced enough for his vision. This absolute maniac thought he'd invented a new sense and kept describing it to us like it was real. Said he could feel colors moving through walls and sense emotions in objects. Wrote essays about it. Genuinely believed he'd evolved beyond normal humans. Probably just synesthesia combined with ego, but the confidence in his delusion was unreal. Woman insisted that every time she hiccuped, she was temporarily dying and coming back to life. Kept thanking us for resurrecting her every time she hiccuped near us. Treated each hiccup like a near-death experience. The mental gymnastics required to reframe normal body functions as resurrection attempts was genuinely creative, honestly.